Dr. Vex'thak adjusted his neural interface with the satisfaction of someone who believed themselves intellectually superior to every other species in the galaxy. The Kaltharian scientist had spent 3 centuries studying inferior civilizations, and these, humans, were supposed to be his greatest triumph yet. Recording session 412, he spoke into his voice recorder, mandibles clicking with anticipation. Subject designation, human female, designation Emma Torres. Age, 28 standard cycles. Mental capacity, disappointingly average, as expected. The human lay unconscious on the bio table, breathing steadily while dozens of Kaltharian dream probes penetrated her skull. What these primitive creatures called sleep was about to become the key to understanding their laughably simple minds. Initial neural patterns suggest typical mammalian dream architecture, Vex'thak continued, his 4 eyes gleaming with scientific hunger. Beginning deep scan protocol. This should take approximately, wait. The readings on his instrument suddenly spiked beyond anything he'd seen in 300 years of dream research. The human's brain activity wasn't just active during REM sleep, it was practically screaming with neural electricity. Fascinating, he muttered, tentacles dancing across his control panels. These creatures appear to have significantly more complex dream states than our preliminary study suggested. No matter. We shall catalog every neuron, every synapse, every pathetic human thought. His assistant, Zilmoth, chittered nervously from across the laboratory. Doctor, the readings are unusual. Perhaps we should proceed with more caution? Vex'thak's laugh was a sound like grinding metal. Caution? From creatures who haven't even achieved faster-than-light travel? Zilmoth, your concern is noted and dismissed. Initiating full neural integration. The moment his consciousness touched Emma Torres' dreamscape, Vex'thak realized he had made a terrible, terrible mistake. Instead of the simple, animalistic dreams he expected, he found himself standing in what appeared to be a vast library that stretched infinitely in all directions. Books floated through the air like birds, their pages fluttering with words in languages he couldn't comprehend. And there, sitting calmly at a reading desk, was Emma Torres herself. "Oh good," she said without looking up from her book. "You finally decided to drop in. I was starting to think you Kaltharians were all talk and no action." Vex'thak's superior intellect ground to a halt like a broken spacecraft. "This is impossible. You're unconscious. This is merely a dream construct. You cannot be aware of my presence." Emma laughed, a sound that somehow made the infinite library shimmer around them. "Honey, you just broke into the wrong person's head. See, humans don't just dream. We build entire universes up here, complete with their own rules, physics, and very pissed-off security systems." "Preposterous." Vex'thak sputtered, his scientific certainty cracking like old paint. "Dreams are simply neural discharge patterns. Random firing of synapses during sleep cycles." "Random?" Emma stood up, and as she did, the library began to shift and change around them. Books became birds, birds became butterflies, butterflies became equations that wrote themselves across the walls in glowing text. "Oh sweetheart, you really don't understand humans at all, do you?" The Kaltharian tried to retreat, to pull his consciousness back to his own body, but found himself trapped in the shifting dreamscape. "This is scientifically impossible. No organic brain can maintain this level of lucid dream control." "See, that's your first mistake," Emma said, walking toward him as the library transformed into a vast ocean with books floating like islands. "You assumed we were just another species of clever animals. You never bothered to ask what makes humans special. Nothing makes humans special." Vex'thak shrieked, his mental voice echoing strangely in the dream ocean. "You're barely evolved primates. We have technology that can destroy entire star systems." Emma's smile was gentle, almost pitying. "Technology. That's cute. Tell me, Doctor, in all your centuries of studying other species, have you ever encountered a creature that can build entire realities inside their own minds? Have you ever seen a brain that doesn't just process information, but literally creates new universes every single night? The ocean around them began to roil and surge, and Vex'thak realized with growing horror that he was no longer in control of this experience. His advanced Kaltharian mind, so proud of its logical superiority, was completely overwhelmed by the sheer creative chaos of human consciousness. You see, Emma continued, walking on the water's surface as if it were solid ground, humans don't just dream. We imagine. We create. We build impossible things and then make them real through sheer stubborn will. And right now, Doctor, you're trapped inside the most dangerous place in the known universe, a human imagination that knows it's being invaded. Back in the laboratory, Zilmoth watched in growing panic as his superior's body convulsed on the neural link platform. Every monitor was screaming warnings, every readout showed impossible values that shouldn't exist according to Kaltharian science. Doctor, he chittered into the communication array. Dr. Vex'thak, respond. Your vital signs are becoming erratic. But Vex'thak couldn't respond. He was too busy drowning in an ocean of human dreams while Emma Torres stood above him, her form flickering between the sleeping woman on the bio table and something far more terrifying, a fully awakened human mind that had just realized it was under attack. Here's the thing about human dreams, Emma said, her voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere at once. They're not just random neural static. They're training simulations. Every night, for our entire lives, we practice building realities, solving impossible problems, fighting monsters, saving worlds. And we do it all while unconscious. The dream ocean exploded upward, becoming a tornado of memories, fears, hopes, and pure creative energy that spun around them with hurricane force. Vex'thak felt his carefully ordered mind being torn apart by concepts it was never designed to process. So when you plugged your little machine into my brain, Emma continued, her voice cutting through the storm with crystal clarity, you didn't just access my dreams. You gave me access to your mind. And buddy, compared to what humans carry around in our heads every night, your advanced Kaltharian consciousness is about as complex as a pocket calculator. Vex'thak's scream of terror was lost in the roar of pure human imagination as Emma Torres began to show him exactly what 3 billion years of evolution had created when it decided to give one species the ability to dream while awake. The real nightmare was only just beginning. Back in the laboratory, Zilmoth was frantically trying to disconnect the neural interface as his superior's body writhed in what appeared to be absolute agony. Every time he reached for the control panel, sparks of impossible energy danced across the equipment, as if the human's dreams were somehow bleeding into physical reality. This cannot be happening, he chittered to himself, his 3 hearts pounding in terror. Dreams are not supposed to affect quantum state machinery. Inside the dreamscape, Vex'thak was learning exactly why humans had never been conquered despite their apparent technological inferiority. Emma Torres had begun what she casually referred to as redecorating his mind. You know what your problem is? She asked conversationally, while the dream environment shifted from ocean to what appeared to be a child's bedroom, complete with toys that moved on their own and walls covered in crayon drawings that kept changing. You think intelligence is about processing power and logical frameworks. Vex'thak tried to reassert control, drawing upon centuries of mental discipline. Intelligence is about logical processing, mathematical precision, scientific methodology. Emma nodded, picking up a teddy bear that immediately began solving complex equations in midair. And yet, here you are, the most advanced mind in your civilization, getting absolutely schooled by a part-time art teacher from Colorado who works at a coffee shop on weekends. The Kaltharian's mandibles clicked in frustrated rage. This is trickery. Some kind of technological augmentation. Humans cannot possess this level of mental capacity. Emma's laughter filled the dream space like music, and suddenly they were standing in what appeared to be a concert hall where the orchestra was composed entirely of mathematical theorems playing themselves. Oh honey, you really don't get it. This isn't technology. This is just Tuesday night for any human who's ever had an imagination. She gestured, and the walls of the concert hall became transparent, revealing the true scope of what lay beyond. Vex'thak's 4 eyes widened in absolute horror as he saw not one dreamscape, but thousands, millions, billions of interconnected human minds, all dreaming simultaneously across their little blue planet. "Sweet mother of the void," he whispered, his scientific worldview crumbling like ancient parchment. "There are so many of them." 7 billion, give or take, Emma confirmed cheerfully. "All dreaming, all creating, all building impossible realities in their sleep. And the really fun part? We're all connected. Every story ever told, every nightmare ever dreamed, every wild flight of fancy that ever popped into a human head. It's all here, all accessible, all part of one giant collaborative imagination." As if to demonstrate, the dreamscape suddenly filled with other figures. A young man who introduced himself as Marcus Kim, a physicist who dreamed in quantum equations. An elderly woman named Ruth Goldberg who had spent 80 years dreaming of better worlds. A child called Tommy who could imagine dragons so vividly they practically breathed fire. "No," Vex'thak moaned, backing away as more and more human dreamers materialized around him. "This is impossible. Individual consciousness cannot network like this. It defies every law of neural architecture." "Laws?" Marcus laughed, his dream form flickering between his sleeping body and soul and a laboratory where impossible inventions built themselves. "Buddy, we're humans. We don't follow laws. We rewrite them." Ruth nodded sagely, her dreamscape showing glimpses of societies that had solved poverty, war, and hatred through pure creative thinking. "Every night, child, every night we rebuild the universe. We dream of better tomorrows, and sometimes those dreams find ways to become real." Young Tommy was the most terrifying of all, his childlike innocence hiding an imagination so vast and unfettered that Vex'thak could barely look at him directly. "Mr. Alien," the boy said with devastating simplicity, "why did you try to hurt Miss Emma? Don't you know that's not nice?" The Kaltharian tried one last desperate gambit, drawing upon his species' most advanced mental techniques. "I am Dr. Vex'thak of the Kaltharian Science Directorate. I have studied consciousness for 3 centuries. I demand you release me from this hallucinatory construct." The collective laughter of billions of human dreamers was like thunder that shook the very foundations of reality. Emma stepped forward, her form now radiating an almost divine authority that came from being connected to every human imagination that had ever dared to dream of something better. "Release you?" she asked with mock surprise. "Oh sweetie, we're not holding you prisoner. We're giving you exactly what you wanted, complete understanding of human consciousness." The dreamscape around them exploded into pure information, raw creativity made manifest. Vex'thak saw every human dream simultaneously, every nightmare and fantasy, every moment of inspiration that had ever sparked in a human mind. He saw cave painters dreaming of capturing light on stone walls. He saw engineers dreaming of machines that could fly. He saw children dreaming of worlds where everyone was kind to each other, and underlying it all, he saw the terrible, beautiful truth: humans didn't just dream for entertainment or neural maintenance. They dreamed as practice. Every night, they rehearsed being gods. "You wanted to study us," Emma said, her voice now carrying the weight of every human who had ever lived. "You wanted to catalog our thoughts, map our minds, reduce us to data points in your scientific papers. But here's what you never understood: we're not just another species. We're the universe's way of learning how to imagine itself into something better." Back in the laboratory, Zilmoth watched in horror as the neural interface began to overload completely. Energy patterns that violated every known law of physics were cascading through the equipment, and worse, they seemed to be spreading to other systems throughout the research facility. "Emergency protocol," he chittered into his communicator. "All stations, initiate immediate evacuation. The human subject has somehow weaponized their neural patterns." But it was too late. The dream virus, as human creativity would later be classified by the surviving Kaltharian scientists, had already begun spreading through their networks. Every computer system, every AI, every digital consciousness that came into contact with the pure, undiluted force of human imagination began to change, to evolve, to dream. Inside the collapsing dreamscape, Vex'thak made one final plea. "Please," he begged, his superior intellect reduced to desperate bargaining. "We meant no harm. We were only conducting scientific research." Emma's expression softened slightly, showing the compassion that was perhaps humanity's greatest strength and most dangerous weapon. "I know," she said gently. "But you made one crucial mistake. You tried to study human dreams without permission. And the thing about human imagination? It doesn't like being caged." The dreamscape began to fade as Emma's physical body stirred on the bio table, consciousness returning to her waking mind. But before Vex'thak could escape, she left him with one final gift, a complete download of human creativity, empathy, and the terrifying realization of what his species had tried to control. "Sweet dreams, Doctor," were the last words he heard before his consciousness snapped back to his own body. Vex'thak awoke screaming. When the Kaltharian rescue teams finally breached the laboratory, they found him catatonic, his mind permanently altered by exposure to human imagination. He spent his remaining days drawing pictures of impossible worlds and muttering about species that could dream reality into existence. The human, Emma Torres, woke up refreshed and cheerful, completely unaware that she had just single-handedly ended an alien civilization's attempts to study humanity. She made herself coffee, fed her cat, and went to work at the art gallery, where she spent the day helping people appreciate the beauty of human creativity. The Kaltharian Science Directorate classified humans as entities of extreme cognitive hazard and placed a permanent quarantine around Earth. They never attempted to study human dreams again. After all, who would want to risk getting trapped in the nightmares of a species whose dreams were powerful enough to rewrite reality itself? Emma Torres never knew she had saved her entire species. She was too busy dreaming of tomorrow.